Spoiler time for The Matrix Resurrections. Yes, this movie has been out for over a week now, so if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. It's in theaters. It's also on HBO Max, so you got no excuse. By the looks of things, you guys really don't care about The Matrix, because that box office is piss poor. I mean, Keanu Reeves is probably standing at home being like, yo, what's up with all this lack of money? I still know Kung Fu. And then it cuts to Tom Holland sitting in a hot tub chilling with Zendaya, and he looks up at Keanu and says, I missed the part where that's my problem. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hess Project. I'm John Rodolaza, and today we're talking spoilers for The Matrix Resurrections. So like I said, if you haven't checked it out, it's in theaters, it's also on HBO Max. Go watch the film at least 3 times and then come back here. If you guys have been following me in the last month or so, I've been going through all of the Matrix films. I did not go through any of the games back then or the Animatrix, just had no interest in that. I wanted to see the films so I can lead to the 4th film. And I thought the first one was okay. It's a pretty cool looking movie. I'm not super I'm not nerdy about it. Second one, had a lot more fun with it, to be honest. Third one, can burn in hell. This 4th one, there's some good things in Resurrections that do stem from the original trilogy of The Matrix, but overall there's this tonal change that happened in this movie, and this movie isn't being taken as seriously as the other 3. The first 3 films will have an occasional joke and lightheartedness here and there, but for the most part, it's getting right to the point. It's telling you what the situation is, what the stakes are, and you're into it, dude. You're already into it. Even if you're not exactly liking all the crazy, wacky cartwheel shootouts, you're kind of invested in the entire world. So this wasn't a spoiler. Thomas Anderson has been recreated in The Matrix, and he is now a video game developer. He created The Matrix trilogy, which is now a video game series within the Matrix franchise. I'm not saying that's the problem, and I already elaborated into this in my non-spoiler review, but my issue was they leaned too much into the meta of it all. They really just focused way too much on the developers of the game and the people that work in the studio of, what is it called? Deus Ex Machina. That's the company name that creates the games. And it was just too much, dude. When this new Agent Smith name dropped Warner Brothers, they want to make a sequel to the trilogy. It was just rubbing me the wrong way, and I really didn't appreciate the movie trying to hype itself up. And ultimately, it just crashed and burned, in my opinion. Up until Neo is reunited with Niobe in the new settlement called Io, a lot of the events in The Matrix are kind of just treading the same water as the first film. And they're trying to play it off as, oh, well, this is Thomas Anderson. His brain was washed. He doesn't remember that he was the one. He doesn't remember that the video game events were his life. I get that. So in a sense, you can hit maybe some of the same beats as the first film, but I just feel like it was so noticeable. When people say that The Force Awakens is just shot for shot, like A New Hope, it's just A New Hope, but with new characters and a female lead. It doesn't feel that way for me, because I feel like The Force Awakens did a good job doing what The Matrix was trying to do. We'll get into that when I eventually review the Star Wars films, but I just think that The Force Awakens did what Resurrections was trying to do better. Kind of bummed I didn't bring up Neil Patrick Harris's character in my non-spoiler review, but I just forgot about it. It was too forgettable. But let's talk about him now. So Neil Patrick Harris plays Neil Patrick Harris. Oh wait, no, he plays some guy named the Analyst, I think. No, actually, he just plays Neil Patrick Harris. Look, I don't have a problem with that. I love me some Neil Patrick Harris. I think he's a very funny actor. I loved him in How I Met Your Mother and other projects he's done. But to be honest, I don't think Neil Patrick Harris playing the character that he did fit at all in The Matrix. He was one of the contributing factors of me suspending my disbelief of this entire world. It's not like I'm this super diehard fanboy of Matrix, but when I watched the original 3, I felt like I was being transported into another world. I felt like I was watching something out of this world, that I was being transported into this net world of people that can run on walls, that can shoot AKs while doing cartwheels. That's what it felt like to me. In this movie, it looks squeaky clean. The differences between the real world when they were in Io and then when they transport themselves into the Matrix, it felt indistinguishable. I couldn't tell what was what. It just looked the same and it bled into one another. And maybe that's what they were trying to go for, because, you know, the Matrix is almost 20 years older than what we last saw it, so it could be more evolved. It could have reached a state where it's really hard to tell now. And that idea is pretty cool, also very scary, but I just didn't like it, dude. I prefer the Matrix to look how it did in the original films. I'm not like in love with the harsh green tint, but it brought something. It made it feel different and it made it feel cool and unique and epic. Maybe if they did something cool, like in the Matrix, it was shot like with digital cameras, and then outside in the IO, they shot with like film. I don't know how that would go together. You know, it had to be one file. It had to be a digital or on film. I don't know how they would do that, but that in theory sounds kind of cool. If they did different camera tricks to make the Matrix scenes feel different and pop out as opposed to the scenes in Io, if they just had different vibes to them, the colors just looked the same to me. Io was popping a little bit more with color than Zion ever did, so that was a little weird. Overall, that was the biggest issue I had with Resurrections, that the Matrix was a world that we transported into, and you can do Matrix things like you did before, run on walls and all that, but it just didn't feel like the Matrix. Action-wise, like I said in the non-spoiler, it's very underwhelming. Everyone for some reason just knows how to run on walls and shoot. Like, it's easy now. It doesn't even look that cool anymore. It's alright, he's running on walls now. Even Neo, man, in that third act when the analyst activates swarm mode, and instead of all of the Agent Smiths being duplicated and becoming the agents, it's swarm mode. It's like zombies. It's like boom, click of a button and everyone in the Matrix becomes like a zombie that will target whoever you want. It's kind of cool, but it just comes across a little like silly and sloppy. But I gotta be honest, Neo is very lackluster in these fight scenes. He just results to using the Force. That's all he does. Like, none of his powers are really there. He didn't have a whole plethora of powers in the original 3 films, but he wasn't just doing the one move for 30 minutes straight. That's all Keanu Reeves was doing in this movie, is just force pushing things. Like, yeah, it's cool. There's a cool visual to see him do it, but do something else. You're the one. You don't do one trick. The movie heavily focuses on this love connection between Neo and Trinity, so it seems as if they could not revive Neo. I'm talking about the machines at this point, because there's been so many years in Zion, in that real world, in the futuristic real world, where the machines now backed off on the humans, but some of them started to work with the humans and befriend them, and now this new machine war is going down. The good machines end up reviving Neo, but they, I guess, need pieces of Trinity because they're so linked together. That's why they needed to bring them both back. That's kind of cool, crazy, I think. If you saw my review for the first film, I thought the love between the two was very rushed, and it really wasn't talked upon or really brought up or it really hinted at a whole lot in that first film. I just didn't buy into their kiss and the whole her bringing him back to life because she's got to marry the one and he's the one. You know, I just wasn't like super down with how they did in that movie, but the second one got me a little bit more on board with their love, and the third one, and now this one. It's a good story. I like it. Just the opening of it was kind of, you know, rushed. But I like how this movie illustrates that they are two of one. Like, you know, if you can't have one without the other, they're a constant. Similar to how that they were kind of painting the picture with Neo and Agent Smith, how one is without the other. It is a constant. These two are always at war. And we kind of got that a little bit in here, but not really. So the cat's out of the bag if you haven't seen the trailer or the movie. No Lawrence Fishburne, no Hugo Weaving, unfortunately. They are the two recasts, and we get this new Morpheus, and we get a new Agent Smith, and this is my issue with these two characters. They're ass. From my understanding, this new Morpheus comes from the video game code that Thomas Anderson created within the Matrix. It's the memory that Neo has of Morpheus that has come to life. It's the memory and the code. It's not actual Morpheus. I think the actual Morpheus died in like the Matrix Online or something. I think I heard that somewhere in a video. I've been watching a lot of Matrix videos, by the way, but that's what I heard. I think that that's what they're going with because he's got a statue of his own in IO, so it looks like he's pretty dead. Okay. Pretty bad, terrible decision to do that off screen to kill off one of the more iconic characters from the Matrix. All right, that's fine. Who's this new black guy? Oh, he's Morpheus, but I thought we killed Morpheus. And then the Agent Smith thing doesn't make any sense to me at all. Hugo Weaving should have been there. You should have thrown all the money at him. This new guy, not a terrible actor, but he's not Hugo Weaving. And he should have been acting a little bit more akin to Hugo Weaving because that's that character. If you're playing the same character, you should, I don't know, maybe act a little bit like the original actor. I did not really enjoy Revolutions, but I thought the scene with Bane, you know, being taken over by Agent Smith was a cool filmed scene, but I didn't care too much for it at the end of the day. That actor who played Bane still did a phenomenal job mimicking the performance of Hugo Weaving because Hugo Weaving was taking over his body. So to have this actor act differently than Hugo Weaving, but play Hugo Weaving's character, that is a slight in my eyes. I think that that was straight up disrespectful and it doesn't work. The same thing with Morpheus. That I'll give it a little bit of a pass because they try to justify, oh, the real Morpheus is dead. This is from the game code. So no. This just comes across as the studio wanting to look like that they're doing something ballsy, like, oh, we're not bringing everybody back from the trilogy. We're doing something original, something different, but they want to have their cake and eat it too. So this has to be Morpheus. We need to have a Morpheus in here. Like, Lawrence Fishburne, you're not going to get a call, but we need Morpheus in this movie. Hugo Weaving, I don't know what's going on, if we called you or not. I don't know if Gary called you, but we're just going to go with this guy. You know, he's really good. He's a handsome dude. And, you know, he can scream Mr. Anderson pretty menacingly, right? There's just way too much life in this new actor who played Agent Smith. But with Hugo Weaving, there's this static portrayal. He feels like a computer program. The way he talks, he doesn't have really any emotion or personality, but it works, dude. You disappoint me, Lana Wachowski. End of the movie, both Neo and Trinity take this big leap of faith off of a building, and it looks like one of them is about to start flying because Neo didn't learn how to fly again yet. But then they stop, they're in midair, and Neo looks like he's just kind of like, you know, squirming. He's like, I'm not doing this. And you see Trinity's holding his hand, and she's the one who's floating. So now she's got powers, and she's one of 2.5, 2 halves, a half a gallon of 2%. I guess it's an okay reveal that now she has powers. I didn't care too much for the scene that happened. You know, they're just floating there and they realize, oh, so you can fly now. Oh, you can do what I do. Oh. And then they just fly away and then cut to another scene with Neil Patrick Harris's analyst character. They both barge in. Neo and Trinity are now duped out in their black outfits with the black sunshades again. And they just start slapping up analyst, being like, yo, why? Why are you so terrible? Why are you this terrible in this movie? Why are you even here in this movie? If the analyst was supposed to be the new iteration or new incarnation of the architect, piss poor, dude. I mean, you left that for this? Dude, I know his speech is very, very ridiculous. He just says a bunch of 8-syllable words in all the sentences. It is a little too much, but I liked that portrayal of that character. I liked how he brought this mysteriousness to the Matrix, and Neil Patrick Harris just feels like he's chilling. I don't like the vibe of this movie. It feels too chill and it doesn't feel like it's taking its own source material and lore seriously. Guys, in the end, Matrix Resurrections is a disappointment. It's got a lot of cool things in it, don't get me wrong. I think the person who played Bugs, she's really cool, but I just didn't find myself caring for her character, nor any of the other new people. The guy who played Morpheus, now he's a really good actor. I thought he was the best new addition to the Matrix movies, but I don't feel like this movie gave Morpheus enough to do. He just felt like he was meddling about and just just chilling. Too many people were chilling in this movie, and like I said, they just weren't taking it seriously in my opinion. I think Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss did the best that they could with the script. I love them in their roles. I think they pull it off really good. But at the end of the day, they tried, they went a little too meta, and that ultimately led to their detriment. So, guys, that is my spoiler talk. Sorry if it wasn't as exciting as you'd hoped. So that's the spoiler talk for Matrix Resurrections. Let me know down below if you've seen it yet, and what do you think? What would you say is your favorite Matrix movie? You're probably just gonna say the first one, aren't you? Yeah. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, guys, and be sure to stick around because I will be posting a video talking about the Hez best and worst of 2021. We're gonna talk about the movies, TV shows, and video games that came out during the year. Not all of them, because I haven't played every single video game that came out for sure. And then we're going to break in the new year on January 1st with the 2022 list of most anticipated movies, TV shows, and video games. So there is a lot of content coming to the channel, and as I always say, there is more to come.